Productivity Arata. Have you ever negotiated anything at least once in your life? Well, I don't know you, but I know the answer is yes. Every day you go into negotiation processes. Negotiation doesn't happen only when there are several lawyers in suits and ties around the table. You are negotiating with your friends when you're deciding where to go. You negotiate the division of the chores around the house to see who will clean the floor, who will cook dinner. And this is a video about the negotiations that you do every day. You negotiate every time you hire a service or when you solve problems and potential conflicts with people who are part of your life. You can be a good negotiator or an inefficient negotiator depending on your choices. Be careful as not to crazy talk. In a crazy talk, two people are speaking but no one is actually talking. And there is no such thing as a single unified communication here. There will be two parallel talks taking place. And you will never achieve efficient negotiation if you don't listen carefully. And you will never listen carefully if you're just waiting for your turn to speak. See, listening is not a passive thing. Listening is an action. It requires concentration. We have seen that in episode 33 of our series Productivity Arata. You shouldn't keep on mechanically repeating things like a parrot or like a robot. You want to listen carefully, you want to think about it, and then validate your interpretation of the other person. Do not attempt to undervalue others in order to get what you want. One of the basic needs of the human being is to feel that people care, to feel that they're being valued. They want to know if what they're doing is okay, if it's appropriate. We are social creatures, and it is very important for us to have the approval of the group. And if you try to negotiate by devaluing others' work, by lowering them in order for you to stay on top, you will be violating this fundamental desire for acknowledgement. So today's first practical tip is that you must learn how to acknowledge other people. And the funny thing is that we rarely see this kind of guidance in negotiation training, and many people believe that they need to be tough, they need to be cold, they need to be calculating and even be like an actor to hide what are their true feelings of interest, because they know if they are showing that they're particularly interested, they may not have the best position in the negotiation. Now let me tell you something. If on the one hand, yes, it is true that you don't want to show that you would accept anything to get what you want. On the other hand, you don't want to offend the other person either. And if you fail to demonstrate your respect, you may completely close all the doors for negotiation. Remember, negotiation is not just a formal meeting with lawyers and contracts. Negotiation takes place all the time, every day, and whenever you need to make a joint decision, you're doing negotiation. This is the type of negotiation that we're talking about here. And when you show your appreciation, you're reinforcing your connection with the person you're negotiating with. And then they will be more open to listen to what you have to say. And they also have more motivation to find the creativity that is necessary to achieve results that are positive for everybody in that negotiation. When you appreciate the other person, your chances of achieving a good result in the negotiation will increase because now there will be a spirit of cooperation instead of confrontation. Ask the other person to explain what they understood. It is important to have an idea of how your message is being perceived by the other person. So you can tell them that you want to be sure that you have understood what is important to them, and then you explain what you understood from what they said. Then you ask them to correct if you're wrong. And you can also tell them that you want to make sure that the communication is clear and that you want to know if they understood what is important about what you said. You can check our link that is here to find this technique explained in more detail. It is a very important video for you to improve your communication skills. If you feel that you are in a difficult conversation, instead of saying that the person is angry or that they didn't understand anything, you can use metaphors to lighten things up. If you say that they didn't hear you right, there is a possibility that they will get nervous. So it may be helpful to use a visual language, such as, I think we're digging ourselves into a deep hole, and I don't want that. How can we get out of this hole? Or, I feel that we're moving in different directions. What can we do to get closer and walk together? You can understand without having to agree. You can focus more on understanding the other person's point of view, to acknowledge the reasons for that person to see the world as they do. And with that, you will find out which emotions are influencing their behavior, what are the beliefs that limit them, and what are the desires that motivate them. Write this down. If you don't understand the other person, you will never be a good negotiator. Understanding is a kind of acknowledgement. And that doesn't mean that you must agree. You can understand without having to agree. And it is so crucial that you are honest. Your appreciation here is not some type of a game of reciprocity. If your respect is conditional, if you are only respecting if the other person is respecting you back, things won't be as good as they could. You have to start first. Only when you understand how the other person thinks and feels, you will be able to overcome the misunderstandings and work together. Keep things simple. You don't need to embellish the communication. The most important thing here is that the both of you keep your honesty and clarity. Your goal in this communication is to show that you understand the other person, their feelings, their thoughts, and then you communicate that you understand the merits of their point of view, and by doing so, you are validating their perspective. And I know that some people believe that they cannot do that because since they are demonstrating that they are understanding the other person may misinterpret that and think that they're actually agreeing. And when that happens, you need to be able to clarify your communication. In our course, How to Say No, you will find the information that you need in order to be clear and not be interpreted the wrong way. How to Say No is a crash course that you can do in one single day and will make people around you pay attention to what you're actually saying. And you can visit the website by going to arata.se/how to say no. If your communication is not being easy, you can distance yourself a little bit from your original point of view and you can imagine that you are an observer, a third person. So then you will imagine that, for example, you're holding a camera and you're filming the entire situation. And that is what the mediator does in negotiations of conflicts. The mediator is that neutral party that moves away from both sides and they try to understand what's going on in the different points of view. And you can do that too. In this activity, you can try to understand what is important to the other person. What beliefs they have, what emotions are they feeling. And once you've put yourself in their shoes to understand how they see the world, then you can try to say the following. Listen, it is very important for me to understand you. I'm hearing what you say, and I understand that this is where you complete your sentence with what you understood. And then you continue. I recognize that for you, it is important that here you will say what you believe that is important to them. Then you finish. Is that correct? What other aspects do you value? And I didn't get it right. Listen carefully to the answer and then you repeat this as often as necessary until you fully understand the other person. Do not force an interpretation of emotions into the other person. Some failed communication attempts happen when you assume what the other person is feeling and they actually are not feeling like that. And by doing that, you can make them feel judged and misunderstood. For instance, person has not been approved in an important exam and then you go trying to empathize and you say, oh, I heard you haven't been approved. You must be feeling really sad now, right? Maybe the other person is not sad. Maybe they're even hoping that they will be approved next time. Maybe they have noticed that the exam was not as difficult as they had thought. So saying that they are sad is a way of minimizing them, of judging them, and maybe they will not like that. Therefore, instead of projecting an emotion into the other person, you can just ask them, hey, I heard you did not get approved in the exam. How are you feeling today? Finally, treat others as you would like to be treated. Try to remember the times when someone close to you was judgmental, as if they knew what you were feeling. Maybe they made comments that were completely out of place. That's one of the worst things that can happen, as if the other person was trying to impose a certain feeling or emotion onto you, and you should avoid that type of behavior to be able to negotiate better. As you can see, to negotiate well, it is critical that you improve your communication skills. That is why I want to invite you to take our course, How to Say No, which is a course on good communication and better relationships with the people who matter to you. You can visit the link arata.se/how to say no. You have just learned that a common mistake is to believe that when you acknowledge the other person's point of view, you are automatically agreeing with them. That is a big mistake. You can understand what they're saying, and at the same time you can have a different opinion. You can understand and disagree. That is perfectly normal, that is healthy. It means that you know how to establish healthy boundaries in your life. And if you're having trouble to show empathy, to understand other people, and at the same time to have an independent opinion, then you need to go now to the website arata.se/how to say no.